Ian Fortier has been the executive director of the Grandin Theatre Foundation since September 2014, moving over from Jefferson Center, where he was the director of patron services. Among his initial goals for the Grandin, develop other sources of revenue other than first-run movies. Fortier majored in geography at the University of Vermont and earned a master's in public administration from James Madison. He's worked with the Roanoke Arts Commission, volunteered with the National Geographic Society and Special Olympics. He's also an avid cyclist, a stained glass artist, and an ice hockey player. Ian Fortier, welcome to the interview.
It's great to be here. Thanks, Gene.
You were a geology major in college, right?
Geography,
Geography.
Right.
But how did you get into music promoting? That's sort of what got you down here, originally in the New River Valley.
Yeah, well, when I lived in the D.C. area after college for about 10 years, I was working in nonprofit, some heavy hitters, some national and international nonprofit organizations where I sort of cut my teeth as a professional in that sector. And one of my personal interests was live music in the D.C. area, and I had befriended some friends of mine who were musicians and playing in bands, and had bought a guitar myself and started strumming around and really got kind of interested in that scene. And
so the heck with that geography thing, right?
Well, the geography thing is something I did in college as an undergrad because it was a passion of mine, and I love the world and I love to travel and I love the lessons it gives us. So
yeah, I was looking at your little bio, and you talk about travel, and you did some things with the National Geographic Society. Is that where you did some travel?
I was a volunteer for them for 10 years, so I never actually worked for the Geographic for money, but both jobs that I had in the 10 years I was in D.C. were in and around the corner from the National Geographic campus.
Oh, really? Okay.
So I spent a lot of time volunteering for them and traveling independently on my own.
Okay. Yeah. And then you were at the Jefferson Center. When you came to the Grandin, you were director of patron services at the Jefferson
Yeah,
Center.
That's correct. The Jefferson Center was the reason I ended up moving to Roanoke. I had worked on an outdoor concert series in the New River Valley in 2009. And I crossed paths with Dylan Locke and Heather Krantz at DLP Concerts, and Dylan works over at the Jefferson Center as the artistic director. And so they had a position in early 2010 that had come open that was involving a lot of the front of house aspects of live music production, whether it's bar, volunteers, house managers, and I ended up interviewing for that job and coming to Roanoke to take it. Yeah.
Now you're the executive director of the Grandin Theatre Foundation.
Absolutely. Honored to be there every day.
You know, there was a lot of great music at the Jefferson Center. One of the things you want to do at the Grandin is you want to create more revenue other than first-run movies. I think I saw something where you said like 90% of the revenue is coming from movies, which is kind of high for a nonprofit theater.
It is. It is. We need to, we need to look at the Grandin Theater more than just the Grandin Theater. We need to start thinking about it as the Grandin Theatre Foundation, as the nonprofit behind the iconic building. And I think one of the ways in arts and culture that you look at, especially when you're talking about a third-tier metropolis, under 100,000 individuals, is that you need to consider ways that you can diversify the way that you generate revenue. If 9 out of every $10 that you're bringing in is shackled some way to Hollywood and needs to be returned, we need to start thinking about using the building as more of a multi-use facility. There's a lot of times when there's darkness in that building, and there's no reason why birthday parties or educational matinees or business seminars can't be going on during the daytime. And we learned a lot of that from the Jefferson Center. There's a lot of parallels between the Jefferson Center and the Grandin Theater. They're both these old historic buildings. They both have capital needs. They both have the ability to be used in multi-use ways, and they both serve the community as one of the shiny jewels in the arts and cultural crown of the area.
Right. It's amazing how many the Visitors Center has been doing a great job the last couple of years bringing writers in, travel writers. It's amazing how many times they mention Grandin Village and the Grandin Theater.
Yeah, Landon Howard over at RVCVB, as well as his entire
Catherine Fox and
Catherine Fox, Krista Stevens. I mean, these are a remarkable group of individuals. They have a lot of resources they're running through the facility. Landon did a great job in Mobile and Chattanooga, and he's really brought this outstanding attention and branding us, Virginia's Blue Ridge, which I think is something that's brand new for this area. I'm not originally from Virginia, but I do realize that, it seems that Southwest Virginia is always sort of getting a bad rap in the eyes of the Commonwealth. It's always this sort of sector that's in the mountains, and we're starting to realize through Landon's eyes and RVCVB's eyes and Pete Eshelman's eyes,
Roanoke Outdoor, right?
Yeah, and the Go Festival, that there are so many wonderful assets to this valley that happen outside, that we're becoming a retirement community, and we're becoming a community that attracts a younger group and demographic, and we have a fantastic set of assets. So I think RVCVB has done a great job of really pointing people in the right direction of what our assets are.
And it's amazing how many times they mention the Grandin area, Pop's Ice Cream, and the theater gets mentioned. You know, do you ever foresee maybe where you might have music once in a while at the Grandin?
Well, you know, the facility has it has two things going for it that are very positive from a live music point of view. The first is it has a history of doing it. You know, there's rumors that Buddy Holly played there, and we know John Lee Hooker played there, and John Prine and the Dead Kennedys.
Really?
Yeah, so the room has a history of live music. You know, the second thing is we have this amazingly socially conscious neighborhood where people come out and support their local arts and cultural assets. The room itself needs a little bit of work.
Does it? I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, so from a unique side, there's not a room like the main theater that you'll find in the Grandin, and it kind of fits this niche. You know, you have, when you think about, you know, the Black Box Theater at the Jefferson Center with 150 plus people
behind the main stage.
Behind the main stage, and then you think about the Kirk Avenue Music Hall, which is about 100 as well. Then you kind of jump up to about 900 in Shaftman, and then you get even higher with the Civic Centers. You know, the only spaces in between that are, you know, the Whitman Theater at Virginia Western, which isn't generally used by the public that much, and then Mill Mountain Theater, which is almost primarily dedicated towards theater. Right. Those are the ones that are in the 250 to 350 ranges, and then you have the main theater at the Grandin. So you have this unique room that can fill that population size.
So there might be a niche.
300 to 400.
Right.
One of the obstacles we face, though, is, you know, it's not currently sounded for live music. So we would need to do some serious acoustic testing, and then we'd need to baffle the room and then talk about a system. So that, I think it's about a 2 to 3 year plan. The stage is there, the room is there, and the desire is there to, you know, try it out. So I think easing into that in the future is something we have an interest in doing.
And as we go to taping, the Grandin, the Kirk Avenue Music Hall is actually going away. It's being turned into a collab, so there might be another niche there. Correct.
And I mean, sorry to lose that room, but I think it had a great organic run, and I mean, there were some heavy hitters that played that little small room in downtown Roanoke.
One of the first things you did as far as non-movie revenue producers perhaps was the Grain to Growler. You showed a documentary about craft beer brewing in Virginia, had some tastings, and how did that go?
It went really well for us. It kind of landed in my lap before I even started on my first day. And, you know, one of the things the theater is trying to do is to be more than just a first-run movie theater. We want to be thinking about programming that is socially relevant and kind of unique to our area as well. And so this young couple in Northern Virginia, you know, they kind of captured and harnessed this notion of the explosion of the Virginia craft beer movement, and we're the #4 craft beer state in the union now. I mean, we're behind Oregon, California, and Colorado, which is amazing to be mentioned in that breath.
With a bullet, and of course it took some legislation, I think.
It did, SB 604 in 2012, but we decided that we were going to show this documentary, we were going to pull an ABC license, and we were going to bring in 5 local breweries to feature their beers for an hour before the actual documentary. And we had over 200 people. We had great exposure for the breweries. We had good media from Neil Harvey at the Times, and we had people with happy, smiling faces being able to utilize the facility in a way that was more than just to come see a movie.
Are you from Vermont originally?
Originally Burlington, Vermont, yeah.
You still play hockey? Adult league hockey?
I do play hockey.
What position you play?
I'm a center. I'm a Jekyll and Hyde type of guy, an exacerbator on the ice. I like to take other teams out of their game, and I'm proud to say that the Ducks are the defending men's hockey league champs for the city of Roanoke.
Okay.
Yeah.
You must Bruins fan growing up?
Actually, I grew up in a household where my father was from New Hampshire and was a Bruins fan, and my mother's from Montreal and was a Canadian fan.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you're not supposed to grow up in those kind of households, but when you live in between those two cities, yeah.
Both original 6 teams,
That's
of course.
Right. That's right.
Just a minute or so left. You've done a lot of volunteer work over the years, Ian.
I have.
Why is that important to you?
Well, when you carve out a career in the nonprofit sector, you have a strong understanding that contributing to your community is important from an extrinsic point of view. Intrinsically, I think that we live in a first world Western democracy. We live in a structure of society where it's important that those have time and resources give to those that don't. It's part of the fabric of our society and what we do and why we do it. But I believe that participating and volunteering creates some great character whether it's humility or understanding about giving or just connecting to your community, especially when you arrive in a new community. Showing up in Southwest Virginia and volunteering with some organizations like Special Olympics or the VA, it's important to connect.
Gets you in the mix too, huh?
It does.
Yeah. Got to wrap up feeling good about the Grandin Theater?
I feel really good about it. I feel like I get hugged by the ghosts of its past every time I walk through the door every day, and I look forward to doing more there.
Right, we'll have to leave it there. Ian Fortier from the Grandin Theatre Foundation, thanks for coming on. I appreciate
Gene,
it.
thanks for your time.
This is The Interview. I'm Gene Marrano. We'll be right back.